Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Today I would like to present a paper titled A Study on the Adoption of Waste Separation Among Households in Malaysia. This paper is presented by Puan Nur Syamaliah Ngah, myself, Azlina Muhammad Hussein, and Puan Nurliana Safian. Pursuant to the table of content, the content is I will introduce the paper by way of introduction, then the problem statement, then the objectives, the literature review, the research framework, the research methodology, results, discussion, and conclusion. I'd like to explain that major environmental challenges have developed in urban regions with high population densities as a result of pollution, population growth, fast and unplanned urbanization, and other environmental issues. The necessity of waste management directed towards production and consumer activities that create little or no trash must be emphasized in view of the challenges associated with the rising volume of rubbish. Environmental protection and the preservation of nature are jeopardized by an inadequate value being put on waste control, the irregular dumping of trash into neighboring towns, as well as land and water disposal. As a result, it is required to collect waste, treat it, and dispose of it before putting it to useful use and rendering it harmless. Therefore, according to Aksan and Elikler, individuals should practice trash separation to ensure that their rubbish is properly managed, which will help to prevent waste contamination, which is already a big environmental concern. Problem statement. Okay, according to Stroke, 33% out of the total municipal solid waste collected is considered as very badly handled, which had generated various pollution. And according to Moh and Abdul Manaf, approximately 80% of the solid waste that has been generated in the country are actually recyclables. However, most of the waste are being disposed directly into the landfills without proper management of waste, even though the nation knows the negative impact of their way of disposal towards the environment, also towards their health. This shows that there's lack of concern and neglect on the actual proper waste management practice in households in Malaysia. But however, past studies show that show the focus is mostly on the recycling intentions and practice among households. The objectives of this paper are: the first is to identify the relationship between attitude and waste separation behavior. The second is to identify the relationship between perceived behavioral control and waste separation behavior. And number three, to identify the relationship between subjective norms and waste separation behavior. The literature review, I would like to explain the theory of planned behavior. The theory of planned behavior serves as a foundation for our investigation. It has been discovered that the theory of planned behavior, TPB, was first developed by Edson, is divided into three sections. The TPB asserts that each individual's attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control all contribute to the development of human behavioral intentions, which ultimately result in the modification of the individual's behavior. The first element, impact on the execution of the associated behavior. Where attitudes are strong, the individual will acquire a strong desire to engage in that behavior. This is in accordance to Lam et al. And Otem Pepra et al. The second element theory is subjective norms. Subjective norms is concerned with everything that surrounds the person, according to Fonora et al. Social influences from important people can either promote or discourage individual behavior. In some cases, Yuan et al. Says this. The social norm that is used to comprehend municipal solid waste minimization through social norms, since it takes into consideration general public hurdles such as a lack of information, motivation, and influences. This is in accordance to Maycock's. And individuals, significant people such as their family, friends, neighbors, and members of the community, according to Edson, are the major source of social influence in control. Shows a person's perception about how simple or difficult it is to demonstrate a specific behavior. It is thought to reflect past experiences as well as expected barriers. PBC also has a substantial direct link with trash separation behavior among families, which is further supported by research. This is in support of the research from Carus et al. And Mondejar Jimenez et al. That was identified by us to prove or to study for the study of this paper is by quantitative design, a cross-sectional, and the data collection is by online questionnaire. The scope, we have chosen the state of Selangor because it has been identified as a high population density area. The sample that was chosen was among 365 samples that we have sent out. The sampling is known as convenience sampling framework is based on the TPB theory. The results in table discriminant validity is indicative that the results have met the threshold suggested by Hare et al. The results in table 3 that is hypothesis testing in respect of attitude with respect to waste separation, perceived behavioral control in respect of waste separation, and also subjective norms in respect of waste behavior are supported with a t-value of more than 1.645, and the result of the upper and lower levels show that there's no zero in between. The VIF shows also no collinearity issues. The result is supported by a study conducted by Zhu, that is the link between attitude and household waste separation. And Wan et al. Shows that it is a significant factor that influences recycling behavior. PBC is associated with waste separation intentions among families, which would eventually lead to behavior changes in the future. Social networking is regarded as an essential factor in influencing people's pro-environmental behavior, since the opinion of others might influence people's behavior and intentions towards a certain activity. And the local authorities in Malaysia will be able to enhance the rules and implementations of waste separation, which should place a greater emphasis on the intrinsic motivation of the family members. Incentives, they should be considered the fuel that ignites the behavior. On the other hand, the intrinsic motivation, such as the personal characteristics, should be considered the fuel that keeps the behavior consistent throughout time in subsequent endeavors. And with that, I end the presentation of this paper, and thank you for listening and for your kind attention.